Hello everyone. So I work for Academy Cast. I teach software, around 10 softwares, but I've also lectured in graphic design and advertising, bit branding over the years, over the last 10 years. But primarily I'm a graphic designer, so I really do enjoy creating graphics and brands and logos, if you might have been in my last class. But I might have also said that you're out and about and you see a lot of really bad graphics. Like again, just really have a stone in my shoe about it. But I kind of, when I was asked to put something together, I kind of wanted to reflect on maybe what flat design is and what everyone's sort of missing, and where you're necessarily using old techniques when you should be looking at sort of more modern techniques in Illustrator. So I've got an amount of slides, but I'll be jumping into Illustrator to give you little demos, just to show you how one might interact with Illustrator to create these kind of effects sort of directly and straight away. So, where to begin? I guess kind of around Web 2.0. I mean, the whole Web 1.0 and 2.0 has always been quite confusing. But around when Web 2.0 is kind of like the birth of modern design and graphics straight after the dot-com bust. And technology, what had really sort of caught up, and design was trying to sort of, graphics was trying to sort of interact with it and trying to get people on board. So at the very, very beginning, this term skeuomorphic or skeuomorphism sort of came up, and that basically explains that graphics has a tactile function to it. So Apple were one of the first to introduce this to their graphics. So everything had nice shines over it. I remember sort of giving tutorials on how to create these exact effects sort of 10 years ago. So it's kind of funny sort of looking back at this, looking at it as an old style. But it had its place, because the technology, there was a lot of technophobes when iPhones came out. It took a lot for them to get involved. But having things like the bookstore, having actual book graphics on there with drop shadows, having an actual wooden effect in the background, really encouraged people to sort of jump on the sort of technology bandwagon and sort of continue. Even having that Find My Friends thing in this like leather-bound graphic way. Again, that sort of reflects back to the skeuomorphism sort of effect. But again, people are still, I say people, designers, illustrators, are still using these old techniques and unable to fit with modern technologies and design decent apps, amazing interfaces with websites and companies to reflect on company brands and policies and things. You really need to, update your skill set. And again, this is where I'm going to try and sort of show you and steer you through a range of good techniques. So mature design happens. So again, they sort of lost the shaken 2.0 effect. I guess that wasn't really a proper title anyway. It was just something that could maybe give it an umbrella term. So again, people are sort of leapfrogging websites now and going straight into apps. So information needs to be sort of clear and concise, and that starts with creating good graphics. So in this market, in this technology market, we haven't so much thrown at us. So like we're needing to present clean graphics, clean data charts. So things like the graph, it's just a singular line, and it helps to be nice, clear, and contrasting with the things you have in the background. So stats, comparing that to the skeuomorphism effect is completely different, and it's basically just stripping down information and showing the key elements, the key points. So simplicity is golden. That's kind of what I want to sort of put across. And also coming with that is simple typography. You'll see a lot of sort of trends where a lot of people are sort of shaking serif fonts, as it kind of reflects like an old school way of presenting information. And also like having a good serif font. I mean, there's a time and a place for it, but if you're if you're considering throwing information at people really clear and concisely, you should really sort of stick to a good sans serif font. But also, I hate the word trending, by the way, but I have to use it. The things that are trending are going back to actually hand-scripted fonts. So the stuff on the left there you can see was originally just drawn in, scanned in, and then worked in on an Illustrator. And also the nice sort of scripted fonts up there like Cider as well. So we're echoing back to past generations and past designs to reflect the true brands of products. So again, simple colours on backdrops, just showing key information, works really well with flat design. So again, simplicity is golden. So I was going to give a little demo just to create this little watch, just in Illustrator, just to show you how quickly it can take to produce something sort of straight away. So I'm going to jump straight into. I need to get out of this. Illustrator. There I am. Oh, that's something we'll do later on. Watch. Here we are. So I've got way too much stuff open, but that's fine. I'll just pull it out. There'll be lots of me fumbling trying to open up panels, but if you're ever used to Illustrator, then that's fine. So I'll just throw everything back. So let's get our layers open, and let's throw a few more things open here. So again, part of a good flat design. I'm not saying don't use really strong gradients, but there's you can use subtle sort of pastel colours, subtle neon colours to throw backdrops in. So if I was to just quickly throw an effect straight in there, you know what? Rather than doing that, I'll just grab this one. Make sure it's not locked. Fumble, fumble, fumble. So getting these nice colours, you can pull these palettes out straight from your swatches. So a lot of people don't actually know that you've got these amazing colour libraries just sitting in here waiting to be used, and from skin tones to gradients. But also you've got these colour books, including the pastels and neon coloured coatings, which are amazing for really nice sort of backdrops for graphics. Just subtle backdrops. So I can click something like this. Hit X to swap those up, and also to get my gradients open. So let's pull that out as well. I end up having so much open. But if I wanted any of these colours to be thrown in, I can just simply pick up any of these, just pop that there, directly, and just drop them straight onto here, and it throws me in my gradient. So again, your gradient tool is just directly in here, so you can just draw a line any which way you want to in, and you get a beautiful sort of subtle backdrop. So let's just demoing software is such a nightmare. I'm not talking to myself as well. Anyway, so there's the nice backdrop sort of sorted out, using sort of similar tones. And again, if I get my layers together, where are they? Let's just make sure they're out. So always lock your backdrop. And you can also, if I hit V for that, you can move content from one layer to another by dragging this little box open. So I can see the outline of that box. So I can drag it from here to here, and the outline changes the colour corresponding to your layer. So once that's in place, I'm just going to lock that. So with my watch, in order to create something nice and simple, I'll just get the ellipse, drag this out, Shift and Alt will drag from the centre, okay, and I can double click straight into that and give myself like a fairly dark backdrop. That just added it straight in there, didn't want that. Let's do it like that first. Solid dark backdrop, and again using that circle tool I can grab straight in there and give myself the rim of the watch, something like that. Okay, so now that's sitting on top, I can grab both, okay, and with your pathfinder, which is somewhere down here, I can actually minus the front from the back. So it cuts it out straight away. So rather than drawing a stroke, I can actually draw a solid and cut the front from the back using the Pathfinder. But also I'd want a white backdrop to there as well, so I can hover in the centre. By the way, those green lines are your smart guides, so they automatically align things up for you as you go. So that should perfectly sit in the centre, and I can change that to white. So my elements are now sort of separate, which is nice. And if I was to get started with my clock face, I'd just go back to my circle. Again, using the smart guides, it shows me where the centre of this is. So I can hold Shift and Alt again and drop a little circle in, just to represent the inner clock face. And getting the dials going around, I'm going to change these at 45 degrees. So I can get my line, drag that down, hold the Shift, and actually getting those lines are going to be fairly easy. If I need a stroke on that, so bump the stroke up, zoom in again. So if I wanted to repeat that line, you know, Illustrator's full of secrets, it's full of really nice subtle effects. And if I was to get my what am I doing? Hit R for rotate. I can actually click right in the centre of my clock there, so it's going to rotate on that line. And if I was to go to rotate now, oh no, it's going to do it. This was practice. It was perfect last time. Oh dear. So I can click that. Okay, that's how you do it. So if I click here, and if I hold Alt and drag this around, oh my god, and click preview, I can actually see the thing not working. Oh man, I did this a million times. Oh, let's see, let's figure out. Oh, somehow it's over there. Yeah, it will. If I hold the Shift, it will give me my. It will give me a 45-degree angle, and it will duplicate it as another. I was doing it a different way earlier, but thanks for that. He's another trainer, by the way, so he's not just a random heckler. So once that's in place, if I go Shift Alt, okay, I can drag this again, and again it's not working.
Or just press Control or Command.
Again, I'm a pro at this, by the way. I'm absolutely fine with this. For some reason, it's just. There you go. It's working again, so I can snap that there, and I can just hold Alt every time now, and it doesn't work. One last time, okay, and repeat. You can hold Command D and it repeats itself, yeah. There it is, yeah. So that's essentially what I wanted to do. Thanks very much, yeah. I'm going to go home now. Yeah, so, and on the right here, I can delete that, and I'm just going to give myself a little square and drag this out. Okay, just to give myself a little area for the, you know, like a number or a date. And also, you have these live corners, so if you use the clear cursor, you can actually pull these down and give yourself nice rounded corners, which is quite nice. So let's reduce the weight of that, and I'm just going to get my text tool and give myself a basic number, I don't know, 15, something like that. Give myself a nice pink neon, and hold the Shift. Drag that up like that. So if you're looking for a good font, I'd recommend something like, let's get these fonts open. So where are you? Arctic is quite nice, and you can find really nice strong fonts, modern fonts on places like Codrops and which is, you'll go there and you can find really nice tutorials, visual tutorials, mainly sort of web design stuff, but they do throw out good fonts, good layout design, and also Smashing Magazine as well. That's a really great place to go to for visuals. But also, rather than just keep this as text, if I'm happy with it, I can just expand it and click OK. So that actually expands my text. So I can actually do more stuff with it. So I can pull that in here. Swap that around, it's giving it an outline. Yeah, so that's fine for now. And literally, I would pull this down like this. So this would be my sort of seconds. So I'm also going to go for that same pink, or just grab the one from there and bump up the stroke. Throw that to the back, not too far to the back. And then I can do the same with the, the minute hand. And again, I can use that same. So I can sample this line here to get that graphic, and simply just by doing the same thing, pull that out for the hour. So it's that was meant to be a simple tutorial, but kind of screwed up slightly. But I'm happy with the results. And just in terms of popping in the little handles, I can come up here, hold the shift, and come down here. And if I come down and pull down, you have these Bezier handles. And if you click in the center there, it stops it from curving. Then you can hold Shift X and it swaps it around. So that's quite nice. And just by simply going to transform and reflect, I can make sure it's reflecting the right way. So I can see vertical works for me. And if I click copy, oh, I was meant to do that. If you select it, see, that's a common mistake. If you select it with the actual cursor, you'll select the whole thing, you get your boundary boxes around it. So if I do that again, reflect, and again, just click. There you go. Object, transform, and reflect. I can actually now see the thing working, yes. I can click copy, move that across. Yeah, and hold the shift to nudge it quicker and move it over. So if I'm happy with that, I select them both, and if I hold Alt, I can drag these down. That one is not playing ball. Alt, drag them down, and that's fine. I can see them both together. Don't do it multiple times there. It always goes wrong when you do something live. And again, if I can go into reflect with both of them selected and do it from the horizontal button, instead of clicking copy, I can click OK. And now, yeah, and so now I have my sort of simple design of a watch, and all without sort of using sort of shades or gradients. So if I go back into this now, so yeah. Keeping things simple is golden. And if I hit play again, so going back to using technology's influence to maybe suggest a new sort of visual dialogue for your graphics. So Google have updated their logo and their outlook based upon their visual interaction with technology. So I showed this in the last tutorial. But I thought it was quite important to show you that they have relied on these strong neon sort of colours to represent their brand values, but also to animate their logo and to keep it nice and flat. So again, the processes, using bright colour palettes, you can find these on places like Pinterest. This is such an amazing place to go and find some great visuals. So it's me interacting with it, but you can create your own board, and you can, if you type in at the top, you've got colors, bright, logo, and you'll be instantly inundated with great visuals and great references that you can take into your own sort of flat design. And basically, you can pin any of these effects and take it straight into your own collection. But also, using Adobe Color is fantastic as well, because you know, so many people submit their own color swatches, and if you have an iPhone, I'm not sure if it works on Android devices, but you can get an app for it called Adobe Color as well. And if you're out and about in an artisan bakery or something on your lunch, and you really like the color scheme, and you feel it will work in your own brand or your own product in your own select design, you can pull out your phone, and it's as if you're taking a picture. It takes 5 color swatches from that one picture, from that one scene, and with Adobe's libraries of the CC, it shares that information. So if you're logged in on your phone and you're logged into the machine at home and you've got Illustrator open, those color schemes will appear straight into Illustrator. So you don't need to, you know, take a picture, scan anything in. You can just come straight back and then continue working. And within here, you know, you use your own login, and you can save or promote color schemes based on what it is that you're doing. There you go. So there's it working. Yeah, so you kind of get the idea. I just don't need to escape that. Yeah, so also within Illustrator, rather than just using your drop shadows, there's a few ranges, there's a few ways of using nice drop shadows to, again, accentuate your work. So there's 2 main ways of doing this. One with like strong graphics, and one with like where you use your opacity to your advantage. So if I was to do this one first, so this is quite nice, where you can actually attach it to a graphic style. So you can, once you've got it set up once, you can go through and do whatever you need to. So if I was to accentuate this free and give me a nice drop shadow, a really strong one, if I was to copy this and just to, if I go Command F, so you're pasting it in front twice, okay, and if I see in my libraries, I can see that if I drop this down, I can see I've got it in there 3 times now, where I've copied it and pasted it to the front twice. And if I lock the top one and hide it, now I've actually got 2. Actually, for this example, I might just actually, what's the best way to do this? Actually, I'll just use the one. So if I just grab that out and delete it, because what you can do, and a lot of people don't actually realise that you can actually go into your effects, and you've got transform in there, which is somewhere in here. I can't find it because I'm teaching it. There it is, thank you again. So if I go into here, so this is a really nice way of creating this. So all you need to do is give it the angle that you want the shape to be at. So if you go in like 0.5 there and type in 0.5 there, it will give you a horizontal and vertical distribution of 0.5. And basically, if I was to type in something like 100, for instance, and if I hit preview, I can actually see the graphics just dropping, and it's a really sweet sort of way just to you know, give that quick effect. But if I was to change that to something like 400, give myself something more realistic, and click OK, I can see that I have a really nice effect on there now. And if I show the graphic on top, so the one I copied. So if I select that one, let's make sure I select that. I can just give it like a subtler tone, not on the stroke of it. Shift X, okay, and then /. So that way I can, you know, because prior to doing any of this, I was always trying to get the pen tool out and draw out those lines, and it was always awkward because, you know, holding the shift would give you a nice 45-degree angle, but it wouldn't really give you the details behind any of the letters. But the nice thing about this is if I just move this out of the way for 2 seconds, not go in there, go back, and select this. If I get my graphic styles out, so Windows, graphic styles, there they are. So I've done this a few times already. If I had that selected, and if I go new graphic and drop, for instance, I can see it appears in there. And although initially it kind of looks like nothing has happened, but if I select this and do that, okay, and if I give that a color, I can see that it will give it that effect. And that was instantly without having to worry about going into transform. And it's essentially the same when you end up doing it with text. So if I was to give myself something detailed, like this is more text. Make it nice and large. You can keep it on Arctic, it's a bit of a firm favourite for me. Okay, and it helps if you expand it. But good practice is to kind of copy and paste it before you do any of this anyway. So if you want to adjust it, you can easily do that. And simply, if you just copy it where it is, and if you click this effect, it will apply it straight to that effect. And it, and this would have been something that would have taken me years to do, just to get that effect on all of the text. And then you can simply Command F, and the text would be placed back on top, and then you can just adjust the text color. Oops, didn't mean to cancel. And the text would be dropped on directly on top. That's one sort of really nice way that you can create those kind of graphics. And if I went into, there's another one in here, another quick way, which is the sort of fade of the text. So this looks quite awesome in itself as well. So this was kind of created very similarly. Oh, where's my tool? Thanks. So if I had a letter out again, machine's running slow today, it's not liking it. 58, whatever. Thank you. So I can highlight in there, I can drop this down, choose the font I want. Again, I'll go for that Arctic one, which is quite nice. Just going to give it a nice sort of subtle colour. Maybe one I can see. Alright, and also, if I end up expanding that, if it lets me. Sure, I clicked it. That's fine. And if I end up sort of copying this, I'll place it on the layer above. That's fine. So I'm going to copy it once. Okay, and basically if I paste it wherever I want it to be pasted, I can drop it down here. And if I go in my blend mode, so the blend mode is fantastic, so I can double click that, and if I keep it at a specific distance and at one point, if I click OK, I can blend that to that, and it gives me a similar effect as the other. And by simply, if I select these letters now and double click this, I can actually see the individual letters within the group. And if I go into my opacity and drop this down, I can see that it gives me a really nice sort of blend effect, which drops directly behind it. And if I was to make sure that's behind, so I just that was a command open bracket or where is it? Object arrange and center back, because you'll get different effects depending on if it's at the back or if it's at the front. So once you can double click and click away, if you go edit paste in front, because remember I copied the text ahead of time, and if I click like a different color, it will give it a really sort of strong appearance. Spinning wheel of death. It's easier for me just spouting out from Keynote rather than doing live graphics, because it never ends up working perfectly as you want it. It's moving around on its own accord now. Thanks, Illustrator. So that's how you can sort of achieve a different sort of graphic effect. And so flat design is not only sort of flat graphics, in a sense, you can use these beautiful sort of gradients, unless but you have to be subtle with the color differentials. So let's go back to this and play. Thank you. And then you've got things like isometric design as well, which is a different sort of style of working with graphics, and that's using three-dimensionals. So if I go into here, another one, isometrics. So it's where you end up creating graphics like this. Really nice sort of. It's still classified as flat, but flat as in like it's really sort of minimal design, really minimal sort of interface. And it's basically, it's actually created, there isn't a lot of math, there isn't a lot of, you can avoid giving yourself headaches when you're designing all of this by setting up actions. So a lot of people, use actions in things like InDesign and even Photoshop, but they've never really been introduced it to Illustrator. But it can, work out quite well. So if I was to sort of select this one, if I wanted to make that and turn it into that left edge, I can simply get my actions open and make sure they're working. So within my actions here, within here I can just create a new action. So this will record what it is that I do. So I can give myself an arrow and say left, just left. And I can also give it a color. So the color won't be obvious when I create this, but I'll show you how it sort of comes into it. But you can also set this up as a shortcut, like as an F9 or an F12. I'm not going to do that, but if I click record, so now it's actually recording what I'm going to do to this shape. So the first thing I need to do is sort of stunt the shape of it in order to sort of make it look perfect. So if I just close some of these down, and if I open up, come on. Thank you. So I can pull these out. It's quite nice to have these panels, these tools out. Come on. That'll do. And also the rotate as well. Perfect. Ish. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is hit the scale or double click it. And what I need to do for a good horizontal edge, and this needs to be, this is the test, 62.602 I think it was. Was it 68? Oh no. So if I click OK, wrong one. So it was meant to be on the vertical. So actually, I think it was 68.002, something like that. So if I click OK, that's way too much. I'm actually getting that wrong. 82.602. Actually, that was it. That was exactly what I needed. Yeah, that's perfect. So if I click OK, so it stumps it. Okay, and then I need to angle it. So if I go to the shear, double click that. That needs to be at 32. Oh no, sorry, 30. Getting these all wrong. So minus 30 or 30, depending on which way you wanted the shear. So if I click OK, so now it gives me that sort of nice sort of sheared effect. And if I rotate it, I can rotate it by 30. So keeping it in check. Actually, I just created the right one by mistake. But we'll work with that again. So let's pretend this is going to be the other way around. So anyway, so obviously if I hit stop, and you know what, I'm going to double click in here and change this to right. And you know what, I'm just going to step back and do all that. So look, I'm going to redeem myself by selecting the right. If I hit play now, I've done it to the right one, so that's perfectly fine. I've redeemed myself. Oh, so I can do it to my left now, and that's done basically in exactly the same way. But you end up either putting a minus 30 or 30, evidently. So again, I can give you the same demo all over again. Double click this, it remembers the the 82. I'm sure I changed that to 86. 602. So it stunts it. And then again, you don't forget to shear it. So let's shear it the right way by doing the -30 this time. Clicking OK. That's fine. I'm sure that looks. Hang on, I'm sure that didn't work out properly. Again, these down. You practice, and you double click in there. So it's you give it your -30 this time. That's how it's meant to work. I'm a bit lost to how my right one worked out, but so again with the top, it's very similar. You scale. You remember that. That's fine. Click OK. And then you do the shear. This time we'll do it at -30. Okay, and this time you rotate it the other way at 30. Okay. So when that's done, basically it snaps into place, like perfectly, absolutely perfectly. And for this demo and this demo only, I'm just going to pull this down and cheat. Because that's why I pre-baked a cake, because nobody's perfect, right? But as long as I've shown you and it works, right? That's all that matters. So that's fine. But one last thing about this action is that again, a lot of people don't actually realise that within here you can actually turn these into buttons. So if I was to drop this down and go button mode, I can actually see that action is turned into an actual button, which is quite nice. So if I was to undo, just for example, that. Okay, so if I was to select that, all I need to do is click this, and of course it was the wrong one. But you kind of get the idea. That action records too accurately your mistakes, but that essentially is what I wanted to demo. So you can create these isometric graphics really well, and then move into creating these detailed sort of layouts. That's something that you sketch out. So I'm a bit dubious about using these actions now, but basically you can select any of these, and providing you, if you come and see me afterwards, I'll give you the right the right scale and the right rotation. And you can sort of go from there. But basically, dependent on what it is that you sketch out, you can create any of these elements. So your imagination is basically the only thing that sort of limits you with creating these isometric graphics. So anyway, let's go back into here. So almost there. So when you're thinking of sort of the future of graphics or design, this sort of logo really sort of stands out. So I don't know if many of you have seen this or have come across it. It's Rio's 2016, obviously, the Paralympic logo. So it's miles better than the actual logo that they've created, which is, I think it's 3 people sort of in a circle, sort of holding hands, which kind of, it's a bit too much, right? But with something like this, they've used some really nice techniques in Illustrator, using wonderful graphics, wonderful gradients. But the beautiful thing about it, they've looked forward to, what is future graphics, what is future logo design, and that's actually to print the thing out. So they've sculpted this beautiful logo into something tactile, and people can relate to, especially sort of Paralympians where, where you might be vision impaired. So you have this multi-sensory association with a logo, with a brand, with a company. So my last demo will be just to sort of create something like this in Illustrator, and I'm sure this will run perfect. I can't have any more issues go wrong. Where is it? Gradients. So you can create these effects. Let's sort out all of my workspaces to reset. Wonderful. Okay, so if I was to create something like this beautiful oval using these nice gradients, to essentially create something like this, this can be done actually quite easily. You don't have to put too many elements in place. So if I was to delete this, that's too nice to delete. I'll put that over there. So for later, I don't know. Like I'm going to eat it or something. So if I select it and pop it out, okay, I'm going to swap this to stroke, and I'm going to bump it up. Yep, so maybe it'd be easier if I actually just change the colour so I can see what I'm doing. So if I was to create something like this logo, okay, which again uses these sort of beautiful sort of effects on the left, really nice gradients. Actually, there was another demo as well, which I was going to give after this one if I had time, which is the infographic one, which I was going to show you how this logo is made and use like an Apple Watch style design. But that will follow straight after this one. Just give this a demo. Great. Oh my god. Okay, cool. Now for ages, you couldn't actually apply a gradient to a stroke, but you know, with the sort of new CC 2015, you do have that option, and you can do so much more with it. So again, if I open my swatches, I knew I shouldn't have closed these down. And if I go, let's open my favourite colour palette again, which is in here. Yeah, that's perfect. Sorry about the heat in here, by the way. And this time I'm going to grab my gradients out. Okay, so if I select in here, the colour gets thrown straight into here, which is quite nice. You know, you don't have to mess around too much. So right now it's in a linear fashion, but if I select this, I can see that the gradient sort of follows right around. And the reason why there's an edge is because it's white to black, so there's going to be like an obvious border. But if I was to give myself a really nice sort of subtle effect, and again, the common mistake here is just to click straight in here and the whole colour blows open the gradient. However, you know, I used to have the colour out, and I used to sort of click into the colour and choose the colour specifically. But actually what you can do is just drag a swatch straight onto here and it replaces the colour. So it's really simple. And if I replace the colour there as well, so I've got two colours, and then in here, as long as you use really nice subtle sort of pastel effect, sort of neon colours in here, you can create yourself a really nice sort of colour palette, especially if you do it like that. You know, so straight away you're giving yourself a really beautiful sort of backdrop, and if I was to, it'd make it look even more impressive if I give myself a layered backdrop. That's not selected. Always make that mistake of keeping the original graphic selected while I change the colour. So if I was to just throw that at the back, it just looks amazing on the off, you know. So if I lock that, okay, and then I can select this. So in order to create that really nice cutaway effect, I'm simply going to copy this circle. So because the moment if you were to expand this, it doesn't hold the gradient anymore. So that's one of the big issues. And then I want to cut into it as well, and it still won't hold the gradient as well as it should. But if I copy that, and again if I go Command F to paste in front, and I can actually, now the key is to give it a solid colour. Fill and stroke always swap around, so hit X, give myself a solid colour. Okay, so I've still got this, because I pasted it in front, it's still behind, so that hasn't gone anywhere. But with this, if I go expand, copy that, or expand it, copy, and then Command F, and I'm just going to nudge that down so it intersects with itself. Come on. Let's do it more subtly this time. Something like that. Okay, and the nice thing is, you know, all you really need to do is use your Pathfinder, which is in here, and if you delete from front, it leaves you these amazing sort of echoed cuts of your graphic, and it suddenly looks like you've made this amazing twisted sort of logo with these nice gradients in. And if I was to give that solid colour, like an orange or something, a really obvious orange, and then just to cap it off, you can actually go into your blend modes and go to multiply. And if you want to, just drop your opacity. Not too much. So it really does give you this sort of nice intertwining sort of logo effect, which can be sort of very advantageous. And again, you know, if you wanted to, you could do that with more more detailed sort of letter figures like this 8. And again, you just have to intersect certain elements and join them sort of using the Pathfinder elements. But I think I'm running a bit out of time to do sort of that. But if I sort of cap it off and show you how to instantly make that little gradient, in that G, because it had your little segments in there, didn't it? So it's the G logo. So I've just drawn this using a circle, and I've intersected it and drawn a line in there. Okay. And if I was to select these, so these are just boxes not next to each other, the same length, the same thing, and you can actually use your brushes as a really nice sort of technique to create sort of a long paths. So again, a lot of people sort of didn't really know this existed. If I open up my brushes, here they are. So I have to have this selected by default. If I drop this down and go new brush, I can choose an art brush. And if I click OK, no matter how long the path, it will always follow from A to B, so from that red to blue segment. So if I'll call this one Google, click OK. So now that is in my brush up here. Okay, so if I select this line now, all I need to do is click this, and suddenly it's an instant effect. It's kind of giving me a little shave off there for some reason. I have no idea why it does that. But you can also adjust it. But if I was to pull this open, it will always stretch between any sort of length. So that's great doing infographics. So if you had something out of 100% and you had different segments in there, you could just draw a wavy line to represent a road, and each segment could be sort of perfectly distributed. It's the same way if you're creating something like this. So again, the iPhone, the iWatch. It's just called the iWatch, right? So in there, that was very similar. So I've pasted that out. So if I just give myself another artboard so you can see what I'm doing. When you're ready. Thank you. Okay, so that's as it is. Come on, move. I think my laptop's more stressed out than I am. So if I want to create that nice sort of rounded effect, because you simply can't do that, because the rounded effect at the end would stretch out and it just wouldn't look right. So if I was to just create this, and what you'd need to do is just choose. It's probably best to expand that to begin with. Or actually, it's just easier. What am I doing? It's easier with this stroke, just to give it. Come back. It's easier for my stroke just to give it a rounded cap at the end, easier doing it like that. Okay, and you can actually use your nice gradient from earlier. So if I was to open up my gradients, wherever you may be, it's probably best if I just grab it from. So if I just, there you go, grab that one. Can't find what I was doing. Okay, there it is. I'm going to paste that down. Okay, so I've got my gradient, so it remembers the gradient when I actually didn't. Okay, there it is, fantastic. But I can select this. I was doing this, wasn't I? So if I select that and then click into that, it will give me that nice gradient running throughout. So this is very similar to doing that last brush effect. Brushes. So if I do new and then new brush, and again if I go in art brush and click OK. Okay, yes, of course it wouldn't do that. I can add it in afterwards. So okay, so new brush. So it wouldn't accept it with a gradient. I completely forgot about that. But if I go into art brush, click OK, and what you need to do is stretch between the lines in order to keep those those rounded ends at bay. So if I pull that in, so just there and to there, click OK. So no matter how long I make those lines, it will always have those rounded effects at the back, like that. And it kind of makes more sense if I actually grab something like this and cut it. So say there and there, and sort of delete that. I can actually add that effect straight on there. So it's an effect you can throw and adjust as you need to. And again, if you've then basically you can outline this, expand appearance. That's fine, actually. But when you outline it, you can add your nice sort of gradient to that effect, and essentially you can make sort of any circle, any arc that you need, and multiply it so you have the the inner rings of that iPhone watch as well. So there's so many sort of really nice ways that you can use your brush effects for infographic styles, for other designs. I think. Yeah. So basically, when exploring flat design in your work, make sure you design every aspect with an sort of minimalistic and user-centric perspective to ensure unified interface. So don't do it because you feel it's right. Do it because because technology sort of reflects those visuals. Do it because people need clear and concise information when being overloaded by data. So once you've done this, your target audience will identify and appreciate the functional nature of your design and brand. Yeah, cool. Thanks, everyone.